Welcome to Deducation, the Teachers Talking Terror podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mike.
And I'm Courtney.
And we are here this week, week 7 of the show, to discuss, I think probably like our first, like under the radar kind of flick.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else we've covered so far has either been like a big tent pole of a franchise or, something fairly new, but is also like in the media a lot, or some like cult classic. But we're here this week to talk about 2020's film Run, starring Sara Paulson, who I incorrectly called Sara Polly twice last week. I know Sara Paulson was a listener. She's probably left the show now.
You didn't give her the right.
No, she's
name,
like,
so
she's like, this was shaping up to be the best podcast ever. I'm out. See you later. So, apologies to Sara Paulson. I do know better. Slip of the tongue. You are tremendous. And so we're Run. I'd seen it before, but it had been a couple of years. I think I saw it when it first came out. And it went straight to streaming. It was on Hulu, almost like 2 years ago, on the nose. It was released like November 20th of 2020, and so nice tight little thriller, 89 minutes. It's I won't call it a cult classic. It's not old enough to be a cult classic yet, but it's just I have a soft spot. Of course. It goes without saying I've seen far more movies than you have. I've watched 2 of them today already.
I mean, are we surprised that I've not seen this movie until this past week?
No, I'm not, and that's okay. But I've found as I've paid more attention to my movie consumption that I really enjoy these kind of mid-range movies like this. Mm-hmm. They come out. And they're well acted, well performed, well written, but they're not like huge box office winners, but they're also not like terrible movies. It's a nice little vehicle for some actors to do their thing, and I really like movies like this, and they've been making them forever. I mean, I'd say for quite a long time. Just these movies that they're kind of a blip on the radar, and then everybody kind of forgets for a while, and they might show up later on. Someone will remember some. Usually they pop up when someone dies, and people start looking into all of their movies. But so I think this is going to be one of those films. Pretty small cast, really. You could argue it's really just a mother-daughter scenario.
For the most part,
Plays like a live-action Rapunzel, or a live-action Tangled, I should say.
Yes.
And so, I said I liked it. You mentioned you liked it. Of course, we'll get to that later. But are you ready to kind of jump into a little bit of the plot?
I am. So this movie starts out, and Mom's name is Diane, who Sara Paulson plays.
Yeah.
And it shows her daughter, or child, who had been prematurely born, surrounded by a bunch of doctors in a little tiny human incubator.
She's the tiny human, too.
Yes, she is.
Little baby.
And it was right here that I'd realized Sara Paulson was going to be in the movie. And that's when I got excited, and I was like, oh, yes, this is going to be a good one, because I have seen more of her movies and TV shows that she's been in than Jamie Lee Curtis. But
that's okay.
And then it pops up and the screen goes black, and there's these 5 health issues that pop up across the screen, and it's like hemochromatosis, arrhythmia, asthma, diabetes, and paralysis.
Paralysis, yeah.
And it gives the definition for all of those, and then it fast forwards to 17 years later.
17 years later. We're in Washington. If I'd like to think that this movie, the budget of this movie was funded by University of Washington.
Because that's all it was. It was a big part of it.
Yeah, they were plastered all over this film. UW. But who knows? They may have had a hand in it. a little product placement. I'd rather see product placement for an academic institution than product placement for, Apple computers
Yes.
or Pepsi or something like that.
Something beneficial to the...
But yeah, we do. We jump forward 17 years later. Diane and her now teenage daughter, Chloe, are living by themselves in Washington. Because of the health issues, no secret. The 5 health issues that they defined are the 5 major health issues that Chloe has.
Yes.
She's confined to a wheelchair. The house is, it's laid out with, a stair lift. She's on a whole cocktail of medications. So much so that, like, mom homeschools her.
Yeah.
Mom, I wonder what she does for money, because substitute teachers are not going to make the money to live that way.
No, and they've got a really nice house.
They do.
I mean, I guess I don't know what you bring in with a child with disabilities
I'm sure,
in the real world.
I'm sure that there is some of that, for sure.
Yeah, but they do. They have a very nice house. But you think about it, like, she doesn't pay for a phone for Chloe, so there's $100 a month extra she has.
Yeah.
I mean, because, wow, phones are expensive, and they don't have any kind of... I mean, they have nothing but a landline, really.
Right. A lot of vegetables in her diet.
Yes.
She has her own garden that apparently can grow vegetables year round.
Yeah, they don't need to go to the grocery store for much.
In the state of Washington, you can grow tomatoes year round. And so, but really the big push right away is, Diane is in like this, I want to almost say it like Disabled Children Anonymous kind of thing.
Yes.
She's in this homeschooling parent group. And everybody there, you kind of get the vibe that everybody there pities her a little bit because of how much, how many medical conditions her daughter has. But she's very forthright. She's like, no, of everything she's been through, I'm ready to send her off to college.
And when the camera had flashed and it was just like tissues passing back tissues, and they're all sad, and then it goes to what you find out to be Diane, and she's like on her phone.
Yeah.
She's not even listening.
Bored with it.
I was like, you have a child with disabilities, and you're here, and why?
Yeah, I agree. I think for some of it with Diane, at least this was what I was projecting onto her early in the film is, that she's over that hump with Chloe. She knows how capable Chloe is, and we see Chloe is very capable.
Yes.
That I think is like, okay, another sob story. It's like, I feel for you, but I've already crossed that bridge, and I'm ready to just get to whatever, I'm here because I need to be.
Yes.
But yeah, Chloe is applied to several different universities, and she's not heard back from any of them. And so she's been anxiously awaiting her top choice is University of Washington. But, because of her condition, like, Diane, I think, just inadvertently does a lot for her.
Yes.
Diane's always collecting the mail. It's just she's taking care of her as a mom would. But she also lets her know, as soon as you get it, hey, I'm going to be the first person to celebrate with you. As soon as you get a letter, it's all yours. I mean,
that's because Chloe has no other friends to celebrate with. But...
Exactly. All she has is her mom.
Yes.
And so that's really that's the pretty part of the movie. Mm-hmm. That is about that's about the last time we see Chloe on board, which means Diane has kept, and we'll get to as we elaborate here, Diane has kept reality under wraps for 17 years.
Yeah.
And thankfully, it all comes unraveling when there was a film crew around to film it all.
Thank goodness we've seen it all.
It wouldn't have been much of a movie if Chloe figured all this out 3 weeks later.
Yes.
But Chloe is diabetic, and so like a lot of diabetics, I presume, I'm not, but I have experience with diabetics in the family. It's like you crave what you can't have.
Yes.
And sugar and chocolates are one of them. And so she gets some truffles or something, every night. Well, she knows mom just got back with more, so she wheels in to the kitchen while mom is, she's on the phone, I think. I don't know. And and Jack's a handful of truffles. Because again, we see her monitoring her blood sugar throughout the entire movie. So she's very aware of it. But in this bag, in the shopping bag, she finds a bottle of green pills that she recognizes as part of her medication cocktail. However, Mom's name is on the label.
Yep. And she confronts her mom about this.
Yeah, which I was proud. I was really happy with the act, like how they let the character of Chloe, advocate for herself.
Yes, and because in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, if this were me, I would just pretend to take the pill and not really take it. Right. Something like that, because I'm not going to confront someone over it.
Especially somebody I rely on for so much.
But she confronts her mom, and I mean, Diane comes back with a good excuse. She's like, oh, it's just the receipt wrapped around it, which, okay, I mean, Chloe's not really been out in the real world a lot, so why wouldn't she believe that?
Yeah. And so, Chloe then kind of lets it go.
Yeah.
But not enough. She inspects, because again, she literally saw Diane's name on the label. So now that she's been told, she kind of just wants to go verify. So she gets herself away from Mom long enough. She finds the pill bottle, and she now sees her name on the label. Which, almost was enough to satisfy. But Chloe, being an intelligent young lady, picks away at the label and finds Mom's name is still on the label underneath. And so this is where Chloe kind of goes on this, I don't call it a wild goose chase, but it's a very, this is really the plot driver for the rest of the film is what is she doing to me and how can I get out of it? But at the same time, keep it a secret.
Yeah.
So, Chloe goes to, go ahead.
It kind of like this next, she goes to the downstairs computer.
Yeah, she goes at night, waits for Mom to be in bed.
And she searches up this drug's name, which she had found was like trigoxin. Something, and there's no internet. Like, just so happened to be no internet. But as the camera flashes away... And I did really like this part.
I've had a feeling you would.
It was just dark enough to where it kind of left your imagination to be like, who's back there? But you also knew, like, it was Diane sitting next to the unplugged modem.
Yeah, she's like in the kitchen. We see her down the hallway. Just, Chloe has no idea she's there. But yeah, we see Diane is one step ahead of Chloe.
Yeah, and it's just one of those that it's like, what is going on here in this house? Yeah.
And we really, like right now, because Diane has given zero indication to be untrustworthy.
No, she is a sweet, loving mom who's taking care of
and she really, and they do, I feel like a lot of movies, a lot of times in situations like this in movies, there'll be something to reveal to the audience that like the mom would be no good before the daughter figures it out. Whether it's something like they kick a dog or, just something that shows there's a dark side. But they did an excellent job, and Sara Paulson did too, Diane is a great mom. Like, everything that she is putting out there in the public-facing world, my daughter's capable, she needs me, she doesn't need me, et cetera, et cetera.
And that's sorry, I keep
no, it's all right. I know we keep stepping on each other, but even the no internet thing isn't even a big deal until that camera pans off to the side and we see Mom in the silhouette down in the kitchen. Then it was like, oh no, Mom really is dastardly. This isn't good.
Yes, and this is where Sara Paulson is like the perfect actress for this, because I don't know if you've watched her in Ratchet, where like she plays the nurse, and
I have not, but I've heard it's great.
It's like it's just like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which I love.
No, I'm familiar with that. I just haven't seen it.
And then like in Glass, she's in that movie as well, and both of those, like she plays like she's perfect, but
I know her primarily from American Horror Story.
Okay.
Which, again, right up her alley. But she was also really good in Bird Box. I have Glass. I haven't seen it yet. I do like Unbreakable and I do like Split, so I just need to watch Glass. So look at that. You just dropped 2 movies that you've seen and I haven't.
And guess what? I've seen Unbreakable and Split.
I'm very proud of you. Very proud of you.
Pat myself on the back.
I know. Coming up. So, but yeah, so Diane is obviously up to no good. Chloe's not going to give up, though.
No, she's not.
Next day, she realizes mom's out in the garden, and she's like frantic. She's just calling a random phone number, trying to get somebody to answer to do this internet search for her to look up this drug. But of course, she's in a wheelchair, so and it's a landline, so it's not even like a cordless phone. So she's like wheeling back and forth across the room, to the phone, asking just whoever's on the other line, I won't say sweet talking him, but counseling him through
because he's also fighting with his girlfriend,
right?
Because he was caught with another girl or something,
right.
So they're fighting at the same time, and she's just in full panic mode because mom's out in the garden and gonna be coming in soon. But when she did this, I was like, oh my goodness, that is so smart.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very much so. Very resourceful.
That was, on your toes, thinking, what can I do now?
And the chances, honestly, and I think you would agree to this, with her, I won't say unfortunately, but with her being an older teenage female, the likelihood of getting somebody to listen to her on the phone is higher. As just even being a teenage boy, because it just feels like a prank otherwise. But she does get this guy to look up the drug. He tells her it's a heart medication, and that's what she figured it would be because of her arrhythmia, until he goes to the image section of Google and tells her that it's a small red pill, as opposed to the green and clear capsule. Yeah. So I just this is where we're stuck with oh my gosh, what's going on in this house? And so, knowing, Chloe's so smart.
She is.
Even though Diane really does stay one step ahead of her, it's a very close step. So Chloe puts on her game face, she's pretending that nothing's going on. She keeps her trust issues to herself and asks mom if they can go to the movies. And, Diane's like, of course we can. Why not? Let's do it.
And while they're at the movies, Chloe has to use the restroom, which kind of, surprised me that Diane didn't go with her, because Diane has hovered over her for 17 years. So why are you just letting your child go to the bathroom all by herself? How's she going to lift herself up out of the wheelchair? Right.
Well, and Diane also is aware that Chloe's been pushing the issue.
Yes.
Or that's why she unplugged the internet.
Yes.
I don't think Diane probably unplugs the internet every night and then sits in the kitchen to see if Chloe comes downstairs.
Exactly.
But Chloe was asking about the medication and, and then was search. So, Diane knows she's up to something. So to let her out of her sight out in public, I agree, was a little surprising.
Yeah, but then it flashes and she goes to the pharmacy across the street.
Right.
And this scene I had actually seen on TikTok where she's
you had?
What would happen if someone gave this pill to, and it was and so I had saved this movie and I've wanted to see it, and then when it had started going, I was like, hey, this is a movie I'd wanted to watch a while ago. So what a perfect little circle.
It was a nice little shuffle that we did last week that ended up in this place for you. But yeah, she heads over to the pharmacy, and I mean, you could see it coming a mile away because, again, she's taking a bathroom break. Now, granted, being in a wheelchair and being paralyzed, that bathroom break is going to take her a little longer. But even I'm long enough to go across, out the theater, across the street. She waited at the crosswalk. How long were you planning on being gone? And so you could see it coming a mile away, though, when she wheels into the pharmacy, and of course the line is down the aisle.
Yes.
12 people in line. But again, being resourceful, she just goes straight to it, pulls up to the first guy, asks if she can cut, knowing that he's going to tell her no, and then sees she's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
But even I love her little line. She just wheels straight to the front of the line. She's like, so I'm like, I'm paralyzed. Pity me. Like, like I don't care what you think of me right now. And honestly, kudos to the pharmacist that knows who she is and still still acknowledges HIPAA and won't give out any
information.
No, like, well, it's my mom's medication. Well, yeah, I can't tell you what that is though. And then, but. She does get told that, and again, just another little, like, I won't call it a twist, but just another little, like, I almost feel like we're opening like an advent calendar of like plot dominoes.
Yeah. It's like a little slap in the face, like, oof, didn't see that coming.
Yeah, and so this one is like, oh, wait a minute, this pill is that's a muscle relaxer.
Yeah, and it's actually not for your mom. It's for your dog.
It's for your dog. And then Chloe, like, panics.
Yeah, because they don't have a dog.
Right. And then, like, then there's Diane, like, figuring it out. Mm-hmm. Because she comes barging into the pharmacy.
Because of all the buildings that she could have gone to. Which, I mean, Diane's not, like, she's smart, too. So she obviously, when she didn't see Chloe in the bathroom, she probably knew, like, the pharmacy's right there.
Yeah.
But it's like, really, lady, of all the places your daughter could have gone, this is the first place you check.
It's an 89-minute movie.
They didn't have time for her to check other places.
Well, they had time. They just didn't want to use it. Like, it's a very brisk... For a movie called Run, it really does. It just keeps going.
Yes.
And so... Yeah, figure out it's for dogs. Chloe wants to know what happens with medication. She's like, it'll numb your legs. Which then Chloe's just like, am I not even paralyzed? Like, you can see it on her face. Like, I can't feel my legs, and I thought it's because of my paralysis.
Yes.
Chloe starts hyperventilating. Diane comes in. And then, like, just, like, sneaks in like a syringe, like, sedates her, secretly, and then takes her home. Like, it's okay. Even though you're literally, your daughter collapsed at the floor of the pharmacist, hyperventilating, and then passes out, and didn't call an ambulance?
Yeah.
Like, come on. But whatever. And so Chloe wakes up at home, in bed, doors locked, doors, like, chained. We find out that even when she, like, picks lock, because she's got this fascination with engineering and 3D printing. So she takes some tools and, like, unlocks the door from the inside, but we see Diane is, she's not risking Chloe figuring anything out. No,
she's got it, like, barred from the outside and everything. So
because Diane had to go run an errand.
Yep.
So just wonder what Diane's errands are up to, because clearly her number one goal is to just keep Chloe home.
Yes.
And we see she raises her own vegetables, substitutes occasionally. We have already met the mailman. Nice guy. But another little scene, and this was prior to this, where, when mom is substitute teaching for calculus, which proves mom is very intelligent.
Yes.
And Chloe hears the mailman show up, and before she gets to the door, like, Diane's in the driveway, like, left the driver's side door open, like, flew home to get the mail before Chloe did. And so Chloe is home by herself. She's, and this is where she goes, and I do want to say this, you probably picked it up. The actress, Kiara Allen, that plays Chloe, is wheelchair bound. She's an honest, she had lost use of her legs, I want to say like 2014 or something like that. So she wasn't, like, paralyzed from birth.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's a truly wheelchair bound actress. And so all of these stunts that she's doing are pretty impressive.
They are very impressive.
Considering she can't really fake it. You know, like, she has no use of her lower limbs. But yeah, she kind of goes all, like, reverse Home Alone here. Yeah. And, like, I got to get out of this house. So, like, break down, like, what is she, like, all of this, like, ninja level, work that she's doing.
She had gathered up this, like, hot pin. I don't really know what you call it.
It's like a soldering iron.
Yeah, and she'd gathered up all of these extension cords, took a big gulp of water, but didn't swallow it, and I was like, what is happening here?
Yeah, I'd forgotten where she was going with it, too.
When she had first done that, and she crawls out her window, across the roof, and breaks into her mom's window. And, I mean, she was very obviously thinking ahead, because she took, like, a blanket, something to put down so she wouldn't, get all over the glass and everything. Like, she definitely had thought this through. It makes me wonder if this was, like, obviously in the movie this was the first time it happened, but she had planned something like this.
Oh, yeah.
before.
Like, she's quick on her feet.
Yes.
No pun intended. That I said it, and I'm like, that was a little insensitive. Definitely
and the way
not
that
intended.
she broke the glass was that she plugged in this pin, and she, like, drew a circle and then spit the water on it.
Yeah, because, again, it's like winter.
Yes.
And, despite them having a full, like, raised garden out back.
Yeah.
But it is winter, and I know you can grow some plants in the winter. It's I'm not dumb, but she's got like a full garden going.
Yeah,
but
she's
no,
got everything.
she was taking advantage of the the reaction of a frozen window with hot the hot metal. It's why you never pour hot water on your windshield to melt the ice in the winter, because you run the risk of shattering it.
Yeah,
so it's basically she took that approach.
And she goes in, and she was going to use the phone first, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And then she realized that it was unlocked or unplugged.
And then she was having an asthma attack too.
Yes. So
it's
she
like
went.
All of this effort to crawl out her window and in her mom's, etc., was just to get back to her room.
Yes.
To take the barrier off, like it was like a broomstick or something that mom had pinned up there.
It shows that the phone line had been cut. Like, it wasn't even unplugged, but it was, like, cut at the edge.
Right.
And then she goes in, gets her inhaler, and she starts to head downstairs, but she can't.
Right. Yeah. Because Mom had also cut the cord to the the wheelchair lift on the stairs. So Chloe, again, being a forward thinker, decides, well, here's what I'm going to do. So she chucks her wheelchair down the stairs.
Yeah.
And then throws herself down the stairs. Controlled, but wanted it to look like a major accident, but it really was pretty minor. And this is the first time, because once she recognized, a few days ago, that the medication, that green pill, is not what it should be, she quit taking it. And so she would just kind of keep it in her mouth and spit it out. And so as she's laying there at the bottom of the stairs waiting for somebody to get home, she realized she could move one of her toes. Yeah. Which is pretty powerful, considering for 17 years she thought she was paralyzed.
Yeah, and this is going to be so cheesy of me to say, and I'm not going to like myself for saying it.
What?
But I was like, oh my goodness, does she just like start running now? When I watched it. Again, I know, it would have ruined the movie. It totally would have. But I was like, is she going to, because it's called Run, so I was just like, don't let this happen, please. Right. When I had seen her toe wiggle. And it didn't, thank goodness.
No. She had her Forrest Gump moment where she couldn't walk, and then suddenly the braces went away and she never stopped running.
Yep, that's right.
And so she does get herself out of the house, and she sees the mailman. She's basically out in the woods, and she kind of gets pinned, and but she's basically out on the highway, and stops in front of the mailman, Tom. Explains the story to her, and Tom, he's I'll help you. Like, again, he's not like anti-Diane, but like he sees a person in distress and wants to help. And then magically Diane shows up, and and sees Tom with Chloe, talks to Tom, pleads the whole thing. She tries everything. Oh, she's on a different medication. She's confused. Even goes to the whole, you're an adult man and she's a teenage girl. Do you really want this? And Tom's just like, you can follow us, but I'm taking her to the hospital.
Yes. And I like he is a hero right here, because it's like he is not backing down from this this story that he's heard, which is totally crazy.
Yeah.
Because, it's wild to think of, but Diane agrees. She goes to the car. She's digging through her trunk in the first aid kit, to which she has hidden in this first aid kit a gun.
Yeah, and another sedative syringe.
Yes.
And they're uncapped.
Yep.
She just has things laying these around like she's like she's a meth head. Like just uncapped syringes full of medicine whenever she needs them.
Yep.
And so go ahead.
Tom had buckled Chloe in as good as he can in the back of the FedEx truck. And he's like, if any packages, or I'll go slow, if any packages fall over, let me know, whatever. And then it just forwards, or kind of the camera turns and Diane stabs him in the neck with the syringe.
And apparently just leaves him laying in the middle of the highway.
For a little while.
Apparently.
Because it does flash to him. Yeah. But
I forgot about that.
So maybe she put him in the trunk or something.
Yeah, she did take care of Tom. But she Chloe wakes up again and she's again back at home. This time though, she's not in her bedroom. She's down in the basement.
Yeah.
And I could see that getting upstairs for a paraplegic is probably a lot harder than getting downstairs.
Yes.
And so this is the first time, even in 17 years, and that blows my mind. And as an able-bodied person, as you are as well, we have the ability to go where we want to go. But it's so it's scary, for Chloe to think that she's lived in this house for 17 years and hasn't seen everything.
No.
Even as a child, I knew what my parents' bedroom looked like. It was just, I could just go in there. But it's for her to be she's never been downstairs of her own home.
Nope.
And that is just it's kind of terrifying, especially in the situation she's in.
Yeah.
So she's now downstairs and Diane's got her chained, just the wheelchair. Wheelchair's chained up. And Chloe's realized this is almost like mom's lair. This is where, there's a little alchemy lab going on where she's doing stuff with medicines and there's a chalkboard with figures and stuff on it, and there's college mail from UW congratulating her on being a new student, all of this stuff all right there, and because Diana knows that Chloe's never going to be down there, she never had the effort to hide it.
Because
why would you?
No. And she comes across this, I don't want to say photo album, but almost like a little binder full of all of these clippings and stuff. And her death certificate is in there.
It's this morbid little scrapbook Mom's put together.
Yes. And so she's finally realizing, what really has my life been? Because it says that I died at 2 hours and 14 minutes.
Right. And then, this is the part that I won't say the movie falls apart for me, but just the choice. And I get tired of seeing this choice. You see it in movies. If you're going to commit a crime like Diana's done, why are you keeping newspaper clippings of the crime?
Yeah.
And you watching Criminal Minds as much as you do, you probably see kind of boneheaded stuff like that. If you had a daughter, she died 2 hours later, and now you have a daughter with the same name that's 17 years old, with all the same issues that your deceased child has, and newspaper clippings of baby snatched from local hospital. Why are you keeping all I won't call it evidence, but if anybody other than yourself found this stuff, like huge red flag.
Exactly.
I mean,
yes.
like massive. Like fake it. Like it was just. I mean, it was a character choice, whatever. But to me, it was like they've done such a great job in this movie of letting us figure things out when they're revealed.
Yes.
That for this, it's like, okay, now we got to dumb it down for the people that don't understand.
The ones that haven't got it quite yet.
Right. If you haven't figured out Diane is no good,
yes.
we're just going to spell it out. Complete with flashback. Like,
yes.
Of her standing there looking over the nursery, despite not looking 17 years older or younger.
Yeah.
Sarah Paulson looks great. She hadn't aged a day in 17 years. And so, yeah, this is where Chloe really solidifies, although she had no doubt things are bad anyway. Whew, that scared me.
Sorry about that.
That'd be a fun visual to watch when I put this together, because I felt like my heart jumped. I'm sure my face looked ridiculous, but that's okay. Nothing we can't just edit out if it looks too dumb. And so, yeah, everything that, this really sets the tone, and it's the final nail in the coffin.
Yes.
For the trust issues here. Chloe, like, knowing her chair's tied down, like, she's like army crawling herself now, and we get she almost gets caught.
Yeah.
But instead she goes and locks herself in the closet, and I really want to know what Diane does outside of this, because you've got to have some sort of clearance to get that many chemicals.
Yes. And like it was like lighter fluid or something that she was like melting.
Yeah.
To inject, which afterwards,
it was like paint thinner.
Yes, yeah. Paint thinner. And afterwards I had read, like, it was supposed, because I was a little confused by that, like, it was supposed to, like, just make her forget everything.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It was. She was just, like, going to town. It was like this, it looked like black tar.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm like, you're gonna murder her.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it flashes to, she's, Chloe's looking up at all of these chemicals, and she sees one of them. I don't remember what it was, but it was like, immediately call 911.
Organophosphate.
Yes.
Yeah, if ingested, immediately call 911.
Yes. And so, finally, when Diane gets in there, Chloe's like, you need me.
Yeah. And
just starts,
chugging.
Yeah. And Diane's smart. She pours some, oh my goodness. Now I can't think of the name. She starts to try and clean her mouth out.
It was a hydrogen
peroxide, yes. To try and, sanitize her up and make her puke or whatever.
Right.
But, yeah, we flash to the hospital.
Yeah.
And it kind of loops it back around. Like, now there's a bunch of doctors working on this older child.
Right.
That is Chloe. And, she's
intubated. Yes. And she's like under watchful eyes, because she was near death. They're not they've always got somebody watching her.
Yes.
Which is exactly the opposite of what Diane wants, because Diane wants her home. She doesn't want her getting attention in the hospital. And
so Diane does this extremely brilliant thing, and what did she? Because there was a code blue that had come across.
Yeah. And that's really all she did. She just
I guess I shouldn't say extremely brilliant, but I'm assuming that she's the reason that this code blue came across.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, because you saw her standing outside her window, and then suddenly, there was a medical emergency, so every doctor and nurse in the hospital had to report to it. Every one of them. Meanwhile,
maybe they're understaffed, so that's all they had.
And Chloe, because she's intubated, she can't speak, so she's asked to write something. Mm-hmm. And the nurse gives her a crayon because, she's obviously a suicide risk.
Yeah, she can't have a pen or a pencil.
And so, and then like you said, code blue, nurse rushes out, and then Diane steals Chloe again. It's it's upbeat and fast paced, but it's like this constant, it feels like everything we're doing is Chloe escapes, Diane steals her back. You know, with the pharmacy and then the mailman and now the hospital, and it's constantly Diane, sneaks in and puts Chloe back in the wheelchair, ties her to the wheelchair, and we're just getting out of here, you know.
Yep. And they're running through, escaping.
Finally yes. We're running.
Not Chloe though, but just Diane. And then the nurse comes back and she sees the note that Chloe had written and it says "Mom."
Right.
So she realized like, oh my gosh, like that's where she's gone, because she called and she's like, did someone move this patient?
Like, no.
You know, no one moved her, and the escalator is down and the stairs. So she's at like a stopping point.
Right.
Like at this cliff where she can't jump. But she needs a way out.
She's gotten, like you said, gotten to the point where, thankfully, she was on the second floor because there's no elevator access and also no escalator. Although I would think a wheelchair on an escalator would be tough.
I would too, like unless you're popping a wheelie.
Yeah,
I guess.
That'd take a lot of upper body strength.
Yes,
though.
It would. So
but this is where we get another big, because they happen to be at the University of Washington Medical Center.
Yes. And
so, big UW all over the place. Mm-hmm. And, this is where, Diane's trying to figure out what to do. And Chloe just refuses to go with her and starts to stand up. And, and just enough for Diane to panic. And then security just teleports to them. Because they're all like right there as they're like... We don't see them coming into view, but they're already like right behind Chloe, and there's like 30 feet of open space behind them. Like, Diane, you saw these guys coming.
You had to have. But she was also just so mind blown that out of the whole movie, like now Chloe's feet work, and she's like stopping this wheelchair from
this is the first time that Diane realizes that Chloe realizes.
Yeah.
She knew she was up to something, but Chloe actually is like, nope, I haven't been taking those pills for a while. And she pulls a gun. Security guards shoot her in the arm, and she falls backwards down the stairs. And again, there's like 75 stairs.
Yeah.
This apparently was This was a staircase that took you from the first floor to the fourth floor.
It did.
There was a lot of stairs here. And so we think the movie's over here. We're like, oh, thankfully, Chloe survived. Her mom is out of the picture. But we do have a little epilogue here.
Yes. And Chloe is... Does it show her at UW?
No, it's 7 years.
No, it doesn't.
It's 7 years later.
Okay, so this is where she's heading to a correctional facility.
Yeah.
And she's visiting someone. She can walk like tiny distances.
Right. Like she walks through the metal. Yeah, through the metal detector. Yes,
with a cane, but she's still in a wheelchair, and she goes to visit somebody.
And I mean, honestly, we know. I think everybody, even if first time seeing it, like she's visiting Diane.
Yes.
Like being in a correctional facility.
And as someone like. I'm sitting here thinking, like, you have been through so much trauma. Why are you going to visit this person?
Revenge.
Like, I could not wrap my mind around it, because it's like you ask any other trauma survivors, and they're not going to go visit for just
I agree.
A quick, but I didn't see what Chloe had up her sleeve either.
Yeah, a little vindictive here.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 7 years later, and Chloe, she's a college graduate. She's got a career. She's married. She's got a child. And she comes to see Diane once a month. Still calls her mom.
Yep.
Because she is. I mean, she's the only mother she's known. And just shows up once a month, and Diane just lays there in bed, and you could just... Diane aged more in these 7 years than she did in the entire 17 years of parenthood.
Yes. Like, this... It's hard to believe this was 7 years later, because it looks like 30 or 40 years later.
Right, yeah.
Because she is just a mess.
Yeah, she does. She looks bad. But again, we find that, she's confined to a bed because of that spill down the stairs. And Chloe visits her once a month. And then you see her kind of fishing her tongue around in her mouth, and she works out 3 of those pills that apparently she's still getting some prescription for 7 years later.
For the dog still.
For the dog. And tells her, I love you. Now open up. Like, you're taking these pills because I need to keep you sedated. It's like 3 pills take care of a full month? Like, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you think about it, she was taking one every day. So it's like, man, how...
And when she quit taking them, it only took a few days to wear off.
Yes.
So she's looking at 3 pills, take her out for a month. And I'm pretty sure, being in like a medical correctional facility, I would be hard-pressed to think that they aren't doing blood tests and stuff on those.
Yeah.
So they're going to find this stuff. But whatever. It's Hollywood.
Yes.
And so, that's Run. That's 2020's Run. It's not a slasher. Nobody dies with the exception of the 2-hour and 14-minute year old,
And the mailman. The mailman died.
Oh, that's true. That's right. Yeah. Diane took care of him.
Yes.
I forgot about Tom.
I do have a quick question, though, because I don't know if you noticed this, but when Diane was in the shower, her back is like all carved up. Did you notice that?
I didn't.
So it kind of made me wonder, like, had she had some trauma growing up? You'll have to...
Well, I read in the trivia on this one that the backstory for Diane's character. Let me find it real quick so that I can be more accurate. I had read in the trivia that there was a deleted scene that showed that Diane had an abusive mother who killed herself in front of Diane when Diane was 7. And that explains the scars on Diane's back.
Okay, because, it almost looked like she had, a star carved or something on her back. Yeah. So, it was just kind of because it, zoomed out of her taking the shower, and I was like, oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a deleted scene explaining that abusive mother component.
Okay.
Which makes sense. There's a lot of Stephen King references in this movie, too. Are you a big Stephen King fan?
I've seen it.
Okay, so, but one of his stories, actually, it's really good. It came out, I think, in 1990, called Misery. Similar plot line in that, a little bit. In that movie, you've got a very popular novelist that gets in a car accident and on a country road, and when he wakes up, he has been saved and rescued and has been taken care of by a woman named Annie, and it turns out Annie is a huge fan of his, and Annie wants him to write her a novel while he's there. She's basically crazy, and so it's the same kind of he finds himself unable to move, and he's trying to escape. So it's a very similar premise to this movie. But the pharmacist's name is Kathy Bates, and Kathy Bates is the name of the actress that played Annie in Misery.
Okay.
And so, and there was and I did notice when Chloe called 411, the automated voice gave a town named Derry, Maine as one of the references, and Stephen King uses that a lot. As a matter of fact, it took place in Derry.
Derry, yeah.
And so there's a lot of references and things like that that show up.
Okay.
Which is kind of fun.
Yeah. Ties the the movies together a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But okay, heading to the grading.
Uh-huh.
I really liked this movie. I'm giving it an A minus.
That's good. That's good.
Because it had a clear protagonist in there. She was strong. It wasn't what most would deem, like we've talked about, like scary,
Right.
but it had you on the like edge of your seat, like when this, like you had said, like this domino effect kind of started.
Mm-hmm.
When it had come out, I was just like, oh my goodness, like what's gonna happen next?
Right.
And just enough to where like this does happen. Munchausen by proxy is very real.
Oh yeah.
And like it's very real, and so it is something that is scary because this could happen very much in life.
Oh yeah. Everything in this movie, I don't think anything in this movie was like fantastical.
No.
Other than maybe how they lived based on her lack of income.
Yeah.
But the way, like the conditions and whatnot, I could see, a lot of this being, just very realistic.
Yeah.
There wasn't any supernatural elements or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you got a screwed up mom that can't live without her kid. So, yeah, I agree. I'm going to give it a B+. Just because I feel it's worthy of an A, and I really can't, forget it. I give it an A-. It gets an A- too. Fair enough. I just, there's no reason not to, other than, like I've referenced before, and I need to quit doing it, that it's like there's this upper Parthenon of films for me that are A+, but it's not fair to compare your kids, We don't compare our students when we're grading.
Yes.
The kid's worthy of an A work for that kid, then they should get an A work for that kid.
Yeah, and it's like, your kids are totally different. Like, Halloween is totally different than this, So, yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, the A-, like I said, just a couple of those little things of, like, I would have liked to seen how Diane got her money. I mean, maybe not showed her at work, but just, like, there were too many questions of, like, why did you keep all of the scrapbook information for the baby you snatched? And, why do you keep open syringes of sedatives when, like, just
she
those
doesn't have time to take the lids off. Like, you just...
Yeah. I don't have time.
There.
I just let it roll around in the trunk of my car next to my revolver. And so, yeah, I agree. I'll give it an A- too. So, what educational lesson, or how would you... Obviously, she's homeschooled, so a little tough for us to crack that one. But what's your approach?
I am going to say this movie put out a good... lesson of doing things on your own and figuring it out for yourself, like advocating for yourself, and also like advocating for your students, because obviously there was no one to advocate for her except for her.
Right.
And a lot of times for our kids, like, there's nobody to advocate for them except for us. Yes. Especially in my grade.
Yeah.
Like, my kindergartners aren't going to say, like, I'm not getting what I should be. Like, that's us.
Right.
And I think definitely just, like, figuring things out on your own, pushing through, like, knowing what you're capable of, but still, like, advocating for yourself and your students and things like that.
Fair enough. The lesson I would... Again, this would be more for children, like, not your age, but more for the kids than for the parents. But it could easily be for the parents too. Is don't always default to giving somebody the benefit of the doubt. We as a society, we are just ingrained to do that. We just assume everybody has the best interest at heart. That's just the way we are. Because if we went into every scenario skeptical and challenging, nothing would ever get done.
Yes.
There are a lot of bad seeds out there, but the good seeds far outnumber the bad. So we just default to good. But if something doesn't feel right, or something doesn't compute, don't be afraid to push the issue. If you feel like somebody is mishandling a situation, even if it doesn't directly involve you, you see pop up in the news all the time, teachers getting caught with, having relations with students, and they're never caught like in the act, but somebody typically a kid, somebody usually says, this isn't right. I know
Yes.
about this, and it's not right. And they do the right thing by standing up. But for that kid that finally steps up, there's probably, dozens of kids that know about it and don't. I think back to, I taught, at another high school prior to the district we're in. And I had a new student move in from a big city, and he was gone. He was suspended and looking at expulsion by lunch, the same of his first day there, because he was trying to sell. He had taken like large dose ibuprofen and was breaking them up and trying to sell them as like crack rocks. But there were a couple of girls, a couple of lockers down, that just knew that was wrong and went straight to administration and ratted him out, and problem solved. We so much want to protect ourselves from extra attention and getting involved. But if something, and Chloe did a great job of this, of, you know what? I found those pills and it had my mom's name on it. And even though she gave me a solid excuse, I'm not convinced. And she didn't let it go, and obviously unraveled the whole sweater of the truth. And so a lie she'd been living in for 17 years. And so I think that's a good lesson, not necessarily like a content educational style, but I know our kids are seeing things. And I've got older kids, in my classrooms, and I know they see things that aren't right, but they choose to do nothing. And problems don't get solved if everybody just ignores them.
No, they just get worse.
Right. So, all right, Courtney. It's time. This is one of my favorite parts, because, like I've referenced in my other show, we've got the entire next year mapped out.
Yeah.
And so I'm not one. I'm fine with surprises, but I don't like to wait. And so this has been a good challenge for me each week. Of as soon as we were done with last week's show, I couldn't, or 2 weeks ago, I couldn't wait until I knew what was coming on next week. Like, we'll talk about Run, but all day long I've been like, what's the next movie going to be? What's the next movie going to be? Because I want you to have that choice, and if you don't, then we'll shuffle it.
I want to shuffle it today.
Oh, good. I was hoping you'd say that, because as somebody who says I don't like surprises, this is an immediate surprise. Okay. I'm going to throw this opportunity at you. All right. Okay. What popped up is Friday the 13th, Part 6.
Okay.
But I know you haven't seen 1 through 5. But to be honest, you're not missing much.
Okay.
What I mean is, it's not like a Harry Potter where the events stack together.
Yeah.
You could jump into the Jason Voorhees franchise on Part 6. It's and really find out a lot about the character that would lead to a lot of questions of how he got here, which would then open the doors to talking about previous ones. So, or we could shuffle again if you want, or we could do the first one in the franchise. It's up to you.
Let's do 6.
All right. Oh, I love it. Let's jump right in with 6. Because again, the Friday the 13th movies always have somebody that will explain the entire backstory of everything. So you're not going to miss out. Like, you could jump into this franchise in Part 6 and not be confused with what's going on. Spoiler alert. The giant man in the hockey mask is the killer.
Okay.
It's not going to take you long to figure that one out. But yeah, we're going to jump right into your first exposure to Jason Voorhees with Friday the 13th Part 6. The tagline is Jason Lives, Friday the 13th Part 6.
Okay.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut, because if I were explaining the filmography to my wife, I would give her the backstory, a quick little synopsis of every movie leading up to this one. But with this one called Jason Lives, you'll figure out why it's Jason Lives.
Okay.
It's a fun slasher. You're going to get a lot of inventive kills. You're going to get a lot of dumb decisions. But ultimately, you're going to go by week 8. By week 8 of our show, you've already been introduced to Freddie, Michael Myers, and now Jason.
Yeah.
And Art the Clown. So whatever. But no. So is that good for you?
That's perfect.
All right, Friday the 13th, Part 6. No better way to jump into the Friday
That's
franchise than right in the middle. All right, so yeah, a good. We're on a good run. I like this.
We are.
We will catch some duds.
Yeah, I'm not ready for those.
Yeah, we will catch some duds. I would put. I think if just for comparison, compare and contrast for an upper level thinking question here. I would peg Friday the 13th Part 6 as more. I'd put it more in line with like a sleepaway camp.
Okay.
Okay, just dumb fun. Like,
okay.
You know, you're not gonna get any. It's going to be another one of those that like, well, where are we going to go with an educational lesson on this one? But you know, I got one in mind already, but we'll save it for next week. So, all right. Well, you got anything to send us off with?
No, I can't think of anything today.
All right. Well, for Deducation, you can find us on social media. You know, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're on your favorite podcast app, unless you're preferring to watch us on YouTube. Other than that, we're going to keep coming at you week after week with different horror films to talk about, and then a little educational twist on the end. So, for Deducation, I'm Mike.
And I'm Courtney.
And thanks for spending some time with us, and we'll see you next week with Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. Oh, I'm excited for that one for you. All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.